Pause for thought and join in the barking with Darren Rowe on The Mindful Dog.
You're listening to The Mindful Dog, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas break. Today we're going to be talking with Roman Travers on the summer special on Magic Talk FM.
For those who listen to the Sunday Cafe, you'll be big fans of Darren Rowe from Mindfulness for Dogs. Darren makes a lot of sense. He talks about dogs to buy, dogs to avoid, the things you should and shouldn't do. And I want to get your feedback in on this as well. Darren, good morning.
Good morning, Roman.
You've driven all the way up from Cambridge. What was the drive like?
It was a beautiful sunny day. I was listening to you on the radio actually as we were driving, and the landscape. I know it's on the main roads and stuff like that, but the landscape was stunning. Absolutely stunning. Just as the sun was beginning to rise.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Actually, just going back to that previous interview about the road trip book, Cindy has text to say, "Thank you, Peter Jansen. I've just bought this book. It's well worth having and I'm thoroughly enjoying it." Do you like your road trips, and would you take your dogs with you?
I don't think we've got a car big enough for 8 of them, but we used to in the UK. We used to go to agility shows all around the country, and we took. I think we had 6 dogs at that point. I can't remember that. So we had a great big van all kitted out. Most people here put camper vans and stuff. We had a van with cages and all that kind of stuff. The dogs had a better sleeping arrangement than we did. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to come on to the dog breeds in just a moment. When I was 20 in London, I went to Crufts, the dog show. I've never seen so many dogs in one place. That was incredible. One thing I've seen a burgeoning industry in around big cities of New Zealand are the very flash vans with the dog walkers. It's a real business now, isn't it? Doggy daycare. And just before we go on to the breeds, you've spoken before about which dog daycare places to go to and which ones not to go to, and you've got to do your own research. But just how do you do that?
It's really hard because a lot of daycares won't let you go in and see them. That's sort of a red flag straight away. I suppose you want to be thinking about how they're treating the dogs. If they're screaming, shouting at the dogs all the time because they're barking, that's somewhere you probably don't want to go. You want to know that your dog actually has the freedom to enjoy the day. The whole point of going to a daycare is to have fun, isn't it? If they're locked up in a crate every day, then that's no fun at all. You know what I mean? Just go, see if you can even get them to take a couple of videos. The daycare we go to with Twinkie and Star, they're really enriching their behaviours. So they play with bubbles, they have water play, they have set play times, and the dogs come back absolutely shattered and love it. They really do.
Probably have more fun than you do by the sounds of it.
Sure, yeah.
All right, we are talking dogs with Darren Rowe from Mindfulness for Dogs. The whole premise of Mindfulness for Dogs is that there is so much you can do without rolling up a magazine and whacking them or yelling. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's always been about getting a dog that's emotionally balanced. So if you think about with kids, when we have kids that fight and stuff like that, their emotional balance is out of whack, isn't it? And that's due to probably outside stresses, parents, pressure, all that kind of stuff. Well, dogs have the same. If we put too much pressure on them when they're young, then they never learn how to be balanced. They never learn how to deal with stress. And then it comes out in ways through their predator-prey drive, aggression, that kind of stuff. So so the whole mindfulness is actually, it's a real thing. We actually practice mindfulness with the dogs.
Well, you've convinced me more so as the months have gone on, talking with Darren over the last couple of years, actually. If you've got questions for Darren Rowe, what you do is you call now on 0800 844 747. You can text them through 213 I'm really keen to hear from you if you are new to the dog world. And by that, what I mean is if you've gone and bought yourself a dog after years and years of wondering which one to buy, I want to hear from you. I want to hear how it's going, and have you put some good behavioural practices into practice, some good socialisation or dog training skills, and what sort of dog did you end up buying? Because this is the big thing. There's so many factors that come into play here, Darren.
Well, there's so many different types of dogs nowadays, isn't there? I mean, 10 years ago, we would have had all those pedigree breeds that most people had, and then obviously the crossbreeds through the rescue centres. Whereas now, I think every day there's a new breed coming up. The Labradoodle is, the Labradoodle's now petitioning the Kennel Club in America to actually be a proper recognised breed. So things are changing quite fast. They really are.
Yeah. All right. Now, you were telling me about a dog breed that you saw yesterday. I've never heard of it before. No. What was that?
So we went to see some Portuguese water dogs. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of those, but they're amazing dogs. They look a bit like a poodle, but they're not. And I have to stress they're not. And there's a wonderful breeder called Scott Stanford in the Waikato, who's the only breeder, as far as I'm aware, in New Zealand of these dogs, and absolutely fantastic. You have to look them up on YouTube, but they're a real ancient breed, and I think the poodles and all these kind of dogs, the Bichon Frise, were all bred from them originally. apparently. You know how we crossbreed certain dogs?
Yeah.
So they were used for fishing and hunting and retrieving off boats and stuff like that, obviously in Portugal.
Yeah.
And if you go to Portugal, there's hundreds of them, but there's not many in this country, maybe in Australia a little bit.
So what drives the quantity, the availability? Is that simply trends?
I think it is, yeah. I mean, certain breeds are always going to be in favour, aren't there? So your Labradors, your Retrievers, all those kind of things are always going to be in favour. But there'll be very specific breeds. At the moment, we're seeing the Husky coming into New Zealand quite a lot, and that's cultural driven, I guess. Obviously, we've got all the different mixed breeds out there, the oodles, different types of different oodles, I guess. And some of the bizarrest crosses that we're having nowadays with things like Spits and Collies and Poms and Collies and things like that, which we can maybe talk about in a minute. But some of those sort of things, possibly not the best choices, not the best breeds, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so just going back to that breed, the Portuguese, what was it again? The
Portuguese water dog.
All right, and it comes from the poodle.
Well, no, poodle comes from the Portuguese water dog.
Oh,
yeah.
see, that's interesting stuff, because I think some people think the poodle's a bit of a Ponsonby, Lampton kind of a dog. They're a hunting dog traditionally, aren't they? So
they're a water hunting dog. So the way that the fancy coats have been done in the Portuguese water dog is actually a utility dog. So they basically cut the back, and it looks a bit like a baboon. If you want a very pretty baboon, definitely. But the idea is that when they're diving in the water, then that coat doesn't get completely sodden with water, and then the dog sinks. So it actually allows the dog to swim properly, because their front legs are way stronger than their back legs.
Oh, there we go. Well, there's a breed worth looking at.
Yeah.
Taking your calls on 0800 844 747. Alex, hello.
Hi, Roman and Doggy Dan.
Not Doggy Dan, Darren.
Darren.
Almost.
Darren. Doggy Darren.
That's okay.
Hey, I don't have poodle problems, just name remembering problems.
That's okay.
Lay off.
I do have a big problem, though. I've got the most gorgeous little dog, and she's just wonderful and lovable and gorgeous, and she loves humans, and she's easy, blah, blah, blah. But I've had problems with her with aggression with other dogs. Now, I've had her at doggy daycare, and I've had her quite well socialised, which has got her a lot better. Now, my problem is where she still gets aggressive, though, is with other dogs on our property or walking past our property. Now, I can control that to a certain extent because, we've got gates.
Yep.
But our next-door neighbours have got a brand-new little puppy, which I'm so excited about. And although there's a fence between them, how do I get my dog so that she won't be snarling and barking and carrying on and wanting to kill the other little thing through the fence? Because although she can't get through the fence, she gets so nasty, like the whole neighbourhood can hear it.
Okay, what kind of dog is she?
She's a little Shih Tzu.
Little Shih Tzu. The emphasis on that one, very good. And what's the puppy? Do you know?
It's a little baby Labrador, and I just desperately want them to get on.
So, depending on the age of the puppy, obviously, and depends on the vaccinations and that kind of stuff. The best thing for me would be to actually introduce them properly on a lead, obviously. You obviously need to know whether your dog is going to eat them alive, I suppose. But sometimes once they've actually met, then, especially if they're living next door to each other, they're not going to get scared of each other. If you think about it, if you could only meet someone through a barred grill, you can never really get to see them properly. And that simple introduction might be enough for them to be friends. And the Labrador's going to be a really sociable dog anyway and want to say hello. But your doggy might be a little bit scared. If he goes to daycare and he's okay in daycare, then I shouldn't think that would be a problem. That would be my best bet, but obviously get permission of the owners of the little puppy first.
Yeah, well, at daycare, I mean, she just almost knows her place. There's big dogs. She's just one of many. She almost knows, toe the line or you're going to be in trouble. But when she's at home, it's like she rules the roost and woe betide any animal, fine with people, any animal that comes close. And she's actually gone to attack, to be honest. That's how bad it's got.
You've got to remember that the Shih Tzu is actually a bit of a guarding dog, isn't it? So it will protect its territory. What I would probably recommend if you do say hello to that doggy is not to do it on your property. Probably take it, maybe both of them off the properties, so we can get to know each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the Labrador's not a particularly protective dog, but certainly the Shih Tzu would be, and it sounds like she already is. So she may protect the property anyway. So I'd probably do that somewhere else. But again, keep it safe, because you don't want to make a puppy have a bad experience, because then that pup's going to sort of carry that forward. Labradors are pretty resistant, but all the same.
Yeah, I'm far more concerned about the puppy than my one, because
Yeah.
obviously she can take care of herself. But at what point would it be safe or okay to have the other dog on my property? Because, you know, I'm really good friends with the neighbours, so I would love the dogs to get on and be able to go to each other's houses.
So perhaps the first thing to do would be to arrange a meet-up where maybe the puppy's in a pen or in a crate, and then your doggy can come in and sniff through the crate and get to know each other just like that. Then obviously it's very safe. And then over time, then you can start to get them together. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Like I say, the Labradors are very sociable dogs, so they're going to get on. But your older dog will probably put this little puppy in its place a few times as well. So that's quite normal, as long as there's obviously no blood and no biting.
Yeah, I know. I just don't want the neighbours or the dogs to be upset with me, because I'm really excited about having it, but I want them to get on.
It's probably much better to have a chat with them and do it organised than try and do it through the fence and have a bad situation. Yeah.
Alex, keep in touch with Darren. Darren Rowe, Mindfulness for Dogs. He's on the internet, and he can probably help you out via, FaceTime, Zoom, WebExes. He is nationwide, but he is based in the central North Island, but he is able to help you probably via email and bits and pieces, Darren?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, very good. All right, let's keep those calls coming in. 0800 844 747.
Roman Travers on Magic Talk.
Back into the dog department. You naughty dog. Is it really that the dogs are being naughty, or is it just you that can't teach them?
I think it's a combination of both, to be honest. That communication, that clear communication between owner and dog has to be good. Otherwise, the dog doesn't understand English. I suppose they do understand English, but if you don't do it right, then it's your fault. It's not the dog's fault.
Okay. One of the other industries that's taken off big time, apart from dog walking and dog minding, is dog grooming. And Jessica texts in, "Hi, man, loving the show. You're hilarious. Can Darren please advise on how to become a professional dog groomer, as I can't find a training course in the Waikato? Thanks, Jessica."
Yeah, hi, Jessica. I don't think there's a recognised, I might be wrong here, I don't think there's a recognised dog grooming course in any of the universities or any of the colleges. I think the best thing I would recommend is go and speak to a groomer, get their advice. After all, they're the ones that will have done it if they have. I think just trying to groom as many dogs. There's breed standards, and you can get a book. There's a great big book, I can't remember what it's called now, and it's like pages and pages of every dog and every cut, exactly what each dog is meant to do. And I just do lots of research. Pick your friends. Maybe pick a small dogs first of all. Sorry, and do the teddy cuts, get that kind of thing, and then go for the breed standards. Again, the same breeder, strange enough, Scott, that I was talking about in Temple Grooming. He's actually a groomer, so maybe contact him. He's in the Waikato. So.
Just remember, though, with my limited knowledge of dogs, which extends no further than the Border Terrier, you're supposed to hand strip them, and yet people still clip them, don't they?
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the worst ones. We had our Irish setter. Went to a breeder, went to a groomer, and they said they knew what they were doing, and they basically made him look like a Vizsla. He looked awful. He was terrible. So yeah, do your research when you do take your dog to a groomer. Make sure they've actually groomed your dog. Your dog's breed, I should say, so they know what they're meant to do. Yeah,
I get what you mean. That's very 9. The number here, 0800 844 747. It's free. It's live. Have a chat with Darren Rowe from Mindfulness for Dogs. Morning, Tanya.
Yes, hi there.
Morning, Tanya.
Look, I've got a 14-year-old lab staffy. She's very aggressive, only towards female dogs. Do you know?
Is she? Is she entire?
Sorry?
Is she entire or is she neutered? Spayed.
She's neutered.
She's spayed. Yeah. Is this on lead or off lead or?
It's on a lead.
On a lead,
more so.
Yeah.
More so, but...
And strange question, what colour is she?
She's like a tan,
Like a tan.
with a white, down her face.
So she does have a white stripe down her face, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Quite often, and do you walk her on a harness or on a collar with the lead?
Yes, yeah. And she's much better, like, off the lead. She will just trot beside you. So she's quite, on a lead, she's a bit...
Yeah, so most dogs are generally fine. If they're generally fine off lead, but they're a little bit aggressive on lead, it's basically a resource guarding issue, and it will be that she's guarding you as the resource. And that lead, when she pulls on the lead, if it's on the harness or worse if it's on the collar, then it can cause a bit of pain, and it restricts the movement of the dog. So as they lunge forward, it restricts their movement, and then they think that the other dog has caused that restriction, and then they might be a bit aggressive. The Staffy, well, obviously there's a bit of confliction between the two dogs there, because the Labrador wants to be sociable, and the Staffy is a kind of chasey, a kind of grabby dog. So they want to go over and say hello, and then they've been stopped. So they might be a bit more aggressive on that case. The best thing to do, and it sounds really strange, and you've got to be quite confident, is to just have that lead really loose. Because if you know your dog is fine off lead, then as soon as that lead goes loose, and you might have to do it in a way that the dog doesn't keep going forward, if that makes sense, a bit harder, then the dog's going to realise on a lead, and it's normally that lead that triggers the aggression. So there's a lot of go back to the loose lead training. We tend to teach our dogs to walk on a lead, off lead first, and then we put the lead on, so they don't even realise they've got the lead on. So I'd go back to that. As soon as that tension's on the lead, that's what triggers the aggression.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Good luck.
You're welcome, Tanya. Thank you. Very kind to make the call, and it's always good to get the right advice, and you'll get it right now at no charge, which is not normally the case. This is Darren's business, of course, but and you can get him round to your place to help out, but do make the call now, 0800 844 747. Someone's texting to say YouTube is great for learning. Now, what do you reckon about that?
If you go to my channel, it's awesome. But YouTube's amazing. There are some fantastic dog trainers on YouTube. They give away all of their secrets really free. But sometimes you don't know whether it's good or bad. And I'm a force-free dog trainer. I'm an endorsed trainer for the Association of Pet Dog Trainers in New Zealand, and a member of the PPG, which is a professional pet guild. And they're all force-free, fear-free organisations. So we don't use shock collars, we don't use prong collars, any of those kind of things. And I think that's probably the way to go when it comes to training. But there are a lot of people online that will recommend all these sort of nasty punitive punishment techniques. So just make sure you're looking at the right places, really. Ian Dunbar's a really good place to start. Victoria Stillwell. There's a guy, can't remember what he's called, the Dog Revolution. Some really good places that you can go and have a look. But yeah, stay clear of that punishment stuff now.
Going back a few years now, but Bruce recommends and remembers fondly Barbara Woodhouse.
Sit! Yes. I remember Barbara Woodhouse, yeah.
What a good dog.
Didn't she used to breathe down dogs' noses and that sort of stuff? I actually remember Barbara Woodhouse growing up as a kid in the UK.
Yeah.
She was quite a stern woman, shall we say, quite a negative punishment woman. So I think dog training's moved on a little bit from her, thankfully. But yeah, she certainly knew how to control a dog. Whether it was control in the way I would control a dog, probably not, but definitely.
I was up Mount Eden a few days ago, and there's a big grassy patch at the base with a bit of a sound shell, and there were two beautiful miniature Italian greyhounds.
Oh, wow.
And they were very well behaved. But then I realised this woman had what looked like a walkie-talkie round her neck.
Oh.
And she'd push it from time to time. And I said, what's that doing? She goes, it just gives a little vibration in the collar.
I'm not sure about the vibrations. I think the vibrations are probably better than the shock collar, aren't they? But I think they come in tandem. So you have most of the collars have a shock and a vibration. And I don't know, I personally don't like either of those. But I do understand there's one place where I think a vibration collar would be really useful, and that's with a deaf dog. I've seen that used to maximum efficiency there. But I personally steer clear of either of those. I think you want the dog to come back to you because they want to come back to you, and so with proper training, that's possible.
Okay, all right. The questions you might have, it could be a simple answer, or it could be the situation where you actually need to get Darren Rowe from Mindfulness for Dogs around to your place. But do the right thing first and make the inquiry on 0800 844 747. 3920 is the text. We didn't really get a chance to get on to much else, but there was I tell you what, have you got a few more minutes to stick around?
Yeah.
You don't want to go shopping just yet? Oh, no.
I've got evils from the
Now, Darren's wife is through the studio glass blaming him for wanting to go shopping. Apparently, it's not the case. I'll leave that for you two to sort out. Someone needs obedience training between you two.
Don't you?
Honestly, wow. Back soon with your calls on 0800 844 747. Now, speaking of people wanting a dog to fill a gap, to fill a void, whether it's loneliness or not, is getting a rescue dog a good idea?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think getting a rescue dog is a great idea because obviously these dogs need a home. But I think there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration. So when you get a rescue dog, these dogs are not perfect. Okay, even if they had a relatively good life, but the owner just couldn't keep that dog, they've been ripped away from their family structure. They've been ripped away from everything they trust. That's quite traumatic, right? And if that was a small child at the age of about 7 or 8, because normally it's around the 1 year to 2 years, which is equivalent to about 7 or 8 year old. If that happened to a small child, you can just imagine the trauma and the psychiatric sort of problems that small child would have been ripped away from their parents. So that same kind of thing happens with a dog.
Ripped away or saved, though, because some of these dogs come from abusive backgrounds, don't they?
Yeah, so if it's from an abusive background, clearly it's saving the dog, but still that's the only trust and security and thing they know. So it's still the same for the dog.
Okay. Darren Rowe's got some hot tips on what to do and what not to do with a rescue dog. But let's get back into the calls initially here. 0800 844 747 is the number. David, good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
Good morning, David.
Hi. I've got a bearded collie. I'm in a farm situation. Bearded collie, a little bit of hunt away. He's great on the farm. However, when I go to take him out in the morning, we get in the ute and I meet and greet. I take him off the lead, and he's quite a little bit aggressive. But when he gets in the car or gets in the ute, he's all over me like it's a real fight.
Okay.
And he barks incessantly, and he barks at my ute all the time as well. Like when I started up or we're going on a journey. So
is that when he's outside?
Yeah. Oh, and inside when we first get in the ute, he we have a wrestle basically, and I have to be quite aggressive with him.
So the first thing
the
first thing I would probably do, and I know it's not the sort of thing that farmers normally do, but I would certainly have a secure way of securing him in the car. I wouldn't just let him sort of wander around the car because they do get quite scared. When a dog gets quite aggressive, it's probably due to fear, and I'm not going to say anything about you driving, but it could well be that they just don't feel safe within the car, you know. So so I would give him a safe place to maybe.
David, what's your driving like, David? What are you doing?
You don't want to know.
And on that note of the dog, they normally attack the wheels. You see them attacking the quad bikes quite a lot when they're outside. Yeah. And I was chatting to a farmer a long time ago, and he was saying that they think of them as the stock. And if you were to think about how they move the stock, if they get frustrated because the stock's not moving, then they tend to come in and nip the heels, don't they? And they're doing the same kind of behaviour. So if you think of it as the same as you would the sheep, what would you do to the dog if it was doing that to a sheep? Then probably, obviously, if it's force-free for me, you'd be looking at sort of doing the same kind of trainings. Treat it as training, though. Yeah. And then you can stop that kind of behaviour.
Thankfully, he's not nipping at anybody's feet or chasing cars down the road.
Good.
But I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Not a problem, mate.
Good to hear from you, David. Thank you. Have a great new year, won't you? 0800 844 747. Darren Rowe, who's supposed to be taking his wife out shopping to buy her a new pair of shoes because she is angry at you, mate. I wouldn't want to be you going out of this studio. Robin, good morning to you, Robin.
Oh, good day. Yeah, thanks for the interesting discussion this morning. Just a bit related to the last guy's call. We've got a little Jack Russell, and he loves to bark at people. In a way, he's doing his job because he does it with people coming onto the section. But we've introduced him to a few people, and he's tried to sort of say they're okay. But he with some people he just keeps doing it. Yeah. And I don't know if you had any idea.
Hi, Robin. I see this a lot with Jack Russells and little Foxy Terriers, actually. You'd be surprised how many people phone me for that. Like, pretty much exactly the same reason. I think we sometimes think that it's okay for a dog to bark when someone comes on a property, but then outside it's not. And we give these jobs to our dogs without realising. And I think what I would do is I'd take it right back to the basics and say, well, we need to teach him how to say hello to someone. And normally as a puppy, you would teach a sort of greeting. So they're on a lead, they get a sniff and that sort of thing. I would go right back to the basics because he clearly hasn't learned that. You may have taught it, but he hasn't learned it, if that makes sense, yeah? So I would go back to that. Meet and greet situation and teach him how to do that with someone you know first of all, so he's not scared of them. Often as well with Jack Russells and with the smaller dogs, we're quite tall, particularly if they have problems with men, because we tower over the dog. So bring that person down to his level. If you think that he's going to bite, then obviously muzzle, just to make sure, because you don't know any of that kind of stuff. And explain to the person, and just get lots of people around, sort of one at a time, and just get him used to meeting and greeting in a particular way. But you have to teach him how to meet and greet, because that barking is just fear, And the older the dog, the more the fear.
When he's out, he meets and greets a lot of people and he doesn't bark. But there's just some individuals, it seems to be, that he barks.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we assume that every person in the world gets on with every person in the world. Yeah, that doesn't happen. And we assume that every dog and every person get on. That doesn't. Sometimes they just take a disliking to them. And that will be down to the socialisation that they had when they were younger. So, for example, a lot of dogs have problems with the fluorescent jackets. So someone wearing that or a hat or something like that, because they haven't been socialised to that type of person or that type of thing when they're younger.
I thought they were colourblind.
It's not totally colourblind, are they, nowadays? I reckon they can see a few colours, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. All right. I guess if you're really tall and you're intimidating your dog, the other alternative would be to get a leg reduction. Or just give me a call. 0800 844 747 is the number. Nikki, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello there. I've got a young German short-haired pointer. He's about 14 months. Yeah, and he's a beautiful dog, and I've got a couple of young kids, and he's absolutely fine with everybody, with everything. The only problem I have is on the school run, when I'm walking past another scooter, he goes absolutely mental. And my kids are on scooters, and he doesn't mind being with them. So I didn't know if there's something I could try doing.
Yeah, when
I literally have to... he goes crazy. He lurches at them. I have food with me now, so I stand aside. As soon as I see a scooter, I get him to sit down and I start feeding him. But the minute he hears them wheels or something coming, he just goes crazy, lurches at them, and it looks like he's ferocious, but he's so not. He's such a lovely dog.
What's he like
the rest of the time?
Does he do that? Do you know if he does that when the kids aren't there?
No, he doesn't do it with my kids as well. And they're always on scooters and bikes. He leaves them alone.
Have you been in a situation where you've seen scooters and things where the kids haven't been there, so it's just been him and you?
Oh, no, he's not bothered when no one's on them. It's just when they're moving past him suddenly, like on the path, and usually they're going pretty fast, older kids particularly as well. He doesn't seem to be bothered if the little children,
that kind of, and your kids are quite young, are they?
Well, they're 4 and 11, so he's
It kind of makes a little bit of sense, because that will be what he's used to. Did he get to see them when he was younger? The older kids on them. We quite often. We've always been. It used to be okay for a while, but suddenly we live right near a high school, and we go now. I just abandoned taking him on the school run because. He just looks like he's going to attack. He's probably older boys. He's probably being put under too much stress, and it's probably a good call that you're making, because the last thing you want is for him to do that. But what I would do is I'd probably sort of put a plan together, and maybe speak to another dog trainer in your area, but put a plan together to maybe go to the skate parks. Make it a fair distance away, first of all. And the idea of you feeding the dog, that's perfect, right? When they get stressed, give them lots of food. But you've got to catch them before their nose kind of shuts down and they stop taking food. And then that will get them through the fear, and then they'll start to calm down. So maybe, but take it really slowly, because this is a fear-based issue you've got, even though he's okay with small kids. And there might be a bit of resource guarding around your kids as well. So I would probably
that's what I was wondering. I was wondering whether to... talk to a couple of older kids that are in the neighbourhood with scooters and things, and get to know them. Maybe let him.
Remember when you got kids remember when you got kids involved. Safety first, always with a dog. Okay, last thing you want is one of those kids to get nipped or anything like that. So probably seek a dog trainer's advice in your area. I would definitely do that.
Hey Nikki, just before you go, what made you settle on a GSP?
Oh my God! I wanted to get fit. I'm in my 40s, and I thought, you know what? I could make gym membership or get a dog.
Good choice.
And then somebody told me get a dog because I like running and hiking and that sort of thing. Yeah, so I thought, right, I did a bit of research and went for him. And he is, I've got to say, he's a beautiful dog. He's so gentle, but he does. Oh my God! I walk a couple of hours a day at least.
Wow.
And he could carry on for half a day every day walking, I think.
Who needs a gym, Dana? Who needs
right.
a gym, Nikki, when you've got that kind of breed? Now, just thank you, Nikki. Really good. Lovely, lovely dog. I used to go hunting with a couple of GSPs years ago. Beautiful, beautiful dogs. So, just on that, where should we go to buy these breeds? Because the old backyard breed, the old inbreeding, the old, nasty, weird stuff happening.
Well, first of all, for me, I want to know what I'm getting out of a dog, okay? So I want to see mum, I want to see dad, I even want to see grandparents if I can, and if they're still alive. And if I can't see them, I certainly want to see their pedigree. I want to check out that breeder is doing everything they can to minimise all those nasty diseases that those dogs could potentially have. There's loads of tests that the breeder should be doing if they're a respectable breeder, okay? So I'm looking to see if they're registered with the Kennel Club. Not to say that non-registered dog breeders aren't doing it right, but I want to be seeing that they're registered for myself. If they're not registered, I want to be seeing that they're doing all those tests and they're taking it seriously. They're taking the genetics and the breeding of that dog seriously, okay? Because too often we just get people that they get a dog, they think, oh, it cost me $3,000. Can't believe it, but it cost me $3,000. I'm going to let them have a litter. I'm just going to put them to some random dog down the street, make my money, and then I'm all good. But what they're doing is the pedigrees, or the breeders, the proper breeders, should we say, they're breeding out those nasty genetic problems. And what happens when you just throw a dog together is you just breed them all back in, and we can just undo years and years and years of proper selective breeding.
Yeah, makes sense.
In minutes.
Makes sense. I wish they thought about that with people sometimes. 0800 844 747. I tell you what, Darren, I know you're supposed to be going shoe shopping. But let's move on from that because your wife is glaring at you through the glass. Do you mind if I keep it for just a few more minutes? There's a couple more calls coming in. Is that all right?
She's giving me the thumbs up.
Can you wait for your shoes for another 5? Oh, no, I don't like that look. Honestly, wow.
Roman Travers, Magic Talk.
Let's get back into the dog calls because dog calls are brilliant. We need to keep the calls coming so that you know what to do with your dog with Darren Rowe from Mindfulness for Dogs. G'day, Dave.
Good morning. Compliments of the season to you.
You too.
Good morning, Dave.
Darren, we've got a golden retriever pup. She's 5 months old. She's absolutely wonderful dog, but she's got one problem. Whenever she goes outside, she's got a big backyard to run around in. She'll play for either a minute or a quarter of an hour, but eventually she'll pick up a stick and start chewing, or a stone, or she'll pull a bit of kaikuria out of the ground and start chewing on that. How do we stop her from eating foreign objects that she shouldn't be touching?
I think it's a really hard one, isn't it? Because it's a natural thing for dogs to explore their world with their teeth, and in some ways, I think it's it's a losing battle really in that sense. That being said, the stones obviously you don't want to do, and the kaikuria might make them a little bit sick occasionally, but it's probably not going to do them a lot of harm. I don't think kaikuria is a poison for the dogs, as far as I'm aware. I would probably go along the lines of restricting how much room they have. So our puppies are 9 months old and we've got a 2-acre section, but those puppies probably have a square metre of about maybe 6 by 6 metres, and that's all they've had. And that's got bigger and bigger as they've got older. So first of all, they only had a couple of metres, and when you restrict the room that they've got to run around in, then you can restrict what access they have to things. So you can make sure there's no stones, make sure there's no sticks and stuff like that. And you can put in other things like those nyla bones, kongs, all those kind of things that they can prefer. If you smear them with food around them, obviously wash them regularly so they don't go off. If you smear them with the food and stuff, then they become the preferred things to use. And then they start to learn to chew those and not the sticks and stuff like that. At least if she, apart from the stones, at least if she is chewing the sticks and some do get in there, it is it's a natural product, so it will get degraded in the body. Obviously, we don't want them to do that, really, no. But it's a hard one, but restrict the area, restrict what she's got access to is probably the only way you could do that. You can't train it out of them because they're naturally exploring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Dave. This sounds like a good idea. Would some of those toys, like the Kong toys, be a good idea with the holes for the peanut butter and all that stuff?
So Kongs, nyla bones, even the natural antlers and things like that you can buy, hooves, things like that. I wouldn't put the pig's ears down for young dogs because they're quite oily, and I've heard that that's not so great for the dogs, but certainly the hooves and things like that.
All right. 0800 844 747 is the number here to have a chat with Darren Rowe from Mindfulness for Dogs before he goes shoe shopping. G'day, Mark.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I've got a little question for you, mate. I was just thinking about buying a breeding pair of bloodhounds. Have you got any advice for me?
It's not a breed that I know a great deal about. I don't know how many breeders there are of bloodhounds, to be honest. The best place to do that, and I would really do your research. So there's a couple of things I would do first of all, is I would go and speak to your vets and find out about the whole breeding process. It's really quite detailed, and quite often the first breeding pair that you get, you end up having cesareans and things like that, and it costs an awful lot of money. So get the full details of how much money you need to outlay for that first of all. Secondly, you can get a girl and then get a frozen sperm. That might be a better option first of all, because when you get those mating pair together, you're going to have real kennels to set them up, because you're not going to neuter either of them, obviously. So there's a lot of work there, but definitely go to the Kennel Club Association, and there'll be breeders of those dogs, and then you can have a chat with them, and they may sell you a pair.
Hey, Mark, just a quick question: why have you chosen bloodhounds?
Just basically because I think they're really cool, I suppose.
yeah.
They're pretty cool dogs. It's like I say, I don't know how many breeds there are. I don't think there are many in New Zealand. You might need to be looking to Australia, but can't stress enough. Do your research. Do your research on the breed. Do your research on how to breed them.
There's virtually no breeders in New Zealand, and most of the registered ones closest are in Australia. So
and whether they're likely to sell you a breeding dog, because most breeders will breed for themselves and then they'll sell you a dog, and as a contractor you have to neuter them. So to get one of those breeders to sell you a mating, a pair might be quite hard. But yeah, you never know.
Good on you, Mark. It could be you might start a burgeoning market there. If there are no breeders here, then why not get the ball rolling?
Good for chasing escaped convicts, apparently.
Oh, well, there you go. I've seen that in the movies too. There you go. You could.
Wasn't Columbo? Didn't he have the bloodhound? I'm sure he did, didn't he?
Thinking there'd be people from the Department of Corrections listening right now who will need your services, Mark. So get breeding. Get your dogs breeding. So Cindy asks, Roman, can you ask Darren why it is that dogs love peanut butter so much?
I don't think I've ever been speechless on the radio, but I have no idea on that one. Probably the taste, I imagine.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
It's not something I've ever thought of feeding a dog, but I know with those toys they have the holes to stick food in, don't they?
Yeah, but I suppose it's the texture as well, isn't it, on the tongue? Probably quite nice.
All right, very, very quickly, let's just summarise what we were talking about, getting a rescue dog, introducing it to the home, some of the common issues that they come with.
Yeah, so when we get a rescue dog, first of all, you've got to remember they've come from a traumatic situation, whether that's just been leaving the family or whether they've been abused. So when we get them in the home, the last thing we really want to do is have a lot of sympathy for them. It sounds awful. Have a lot of empathy, but not a lot of sympathy. So we don't want to completely smother them with love, because what that does is it makes the dog form a dependent bond with you. So they can't exist without you because you're their saviour. And that's not healthy for a dog, because then when you leave, you get all the separation anxieties, the leaping the fences, all of those basic behaviours that we see from rescue dogs trying to escape the properties, that sort of stuff, to find you. So when they come in the house, just give them space. Don't smother them. Just let them be for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. Obviously, be there for them. Give them all the things they need, so like the food and shelter and that kind of stuff, yeah? And be there if they do come over to you, then give them a cuddle maybe, but don't smother them completely. Let them find their own feet in their own house, first of all. That's the most important thing.
Makes sense.
Don't take them off lead, right? We've got rescue dogs. They haven't been, they've actually never been in a park because they won't be able to deal with that. So have those expectations of what you want from your dog. So everybody wants to run their dog on the beach and that kind of stuff, but some rescue dogs, they're never going to be able to deal with that. So don't put them in that situation. They're going to do something stupid. They're going to bite another dog and then they're going to be put down, okay? So that's not a life that you want for your rescue dog. But I wouldn't take them off lead for a good year. Let them form that relationship first with you.
Yeah,
and
that
they might
sounds
come
good.
back to you.
All right, another quick text here. Nikki says another great dog like the Portuguese water dog is the Italian water dog. I can't remember its actual name, but it's smaller than the Portuguese version. Delightful, says Nikki.
There's also a Spanish water dog as well. It seems to be a key thing in the European things. But I think the Portuguese water dog was the first breed, I think. I might be wrong there.
Well, someone's texting, it might be her again, saying Lagotto Ramalgalolo.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Wow,
yeah.
That sounds like
an ice cream.
Does or a pasta meal or something. So many dog breeds, so many things to choose from. But Darren, it's really, really good to make sure you're choosing a dog applicable to your lifestyle, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's no point getting a Labrador that's a sociable retriever if you're a home bird and don't want to go out, and there's no point getting a Staffordshire Bull Terrier if you're not going to get out there and run around lots. So
and time. time. Having the time to put in.
Yeah,
important.
Too right, yeah.
All right. Just before you do go, lots of people taking their dogs to batches and to parts they don't live in. Are dogs still territorial when they're away?
Yeah, they can be even worse when they're away. And a lot of the batches don't have fences, so I do get I actually get a fair few phone calls of people. The dogs are generally really well behaved. They go to the batch and then they start being aggressive with other dogs. So your basic trainings, dogs learn their training in a certain area and they don't necessarily apply it to another area, so you've got to do exactly the same training back at your batch as well as you do at home.
Makes sense. All right, so if you want to get the services of Darren Rowe for your dog from Mindfulness for Dogs, how do they find you, Darren?
Yeah, so you can find us on the website. It's mindfulnessfordogs with .com with a number 4, or you can just email me at mindfulnessfordogs@gmail.com.
Brilliant.
You can find me all over social media as well. So.
Well, I know what you're off to do now. You're off to do some shoe shopping because your wife's been so patient out there waiting for you, glaring at you through the glass. Look at that look.
Got me in so much trouble, mate.
David Headley from Headley Booksellers is next. He's got a long association with some of the biggest names in rock music in the world and some wonderful book recommendations as well. Hey, thank you, Darren. Drive safe. Enjoy the shopping. Good Lord, lucky you.
Cheers.
You've been listening to Darren Rowe on The Mindful Dog, giving our canine friends a voice throughout the world. To find out more about what we do, visit our website at www.mindfulnessfordogs.com.